Let me be very clear right from the start, because I know how emotional this topic is for a lot of people. Gunther beating John Cena in John Cena's retirement match is not the problem. I want to make that crystal clear. I'm completely fine with Gunther retiring John Cena. In fact, if you're going to pick someone to do it, Gunther makes a ton of sense. He's dominant, he's believable, and he represents a new era of WWE. Cena losing was inevitable. Cena was always going to lose. The real issue, the thing that didn't sit right with me and clearly didn't sit right with a massive portion of the audience, is the way WWE chose to do it. Because this wasn't just any match. This was John Cena's retirement match. This was the final chapter of a career that defined an entire generation. So ask yourself this as we go through this video. When you think about John Cena's legacy, what's the one thing that stands out the most? Is it the championships? Is it the main events? Or is it the phrase never give up? The story WWE was trying to tell was that John Cena, the man who built his entire career on never giving up, finally gave up. After all these years, after all the wars, after all the matches where he somehow found a way to survive, this was the night where he couldn't anymore. On paper, that sounds poetic. On paper, it sounds like a full circle character arc. But wrestling isn't just about what sounds good on paper. It's about timing, emotion, and crowd reaction. And in that moment, all three of those things worked against WWE. If you watch that match, you could feel it immediately. The crowd was not in the mood for John Cena to quit. They weren't emotionally prepared for it, and honestly, they didn't want it at all. This wasn't a crowd that was ready to see John Cena say I quit. In fact, the audience was literally chanting for Super Cena. Let that sink in. After years of fans rejecting that version of Cena, after years of complaints about him always winning and always overcoming the odds, in his final match the crowd was begging for Super Cena to show up one last time. They wanted the impossible comeback. They wanted him to keep fighting until his body physically could not move anymore, and that's a huge difference. The reaction wasn't shock, it wasn't heartbreak in a powerful emotional way, it was rejection. So ask yourself this, when the audience is chanting for Super Cena and telling you they don't want to see their hero quit, should you still force that ending? That's where WWE completely misread John Cena's character. If you look at Cena's character as one long story, the defining trait was never that he always won. The defining trait was that he never stopped fighting. He got booed, he got hated, he got rejected by crowds that actively turned on him, and yet every single week he still walked down that ramp and gave everything he had. Love him or hate him, John Cena endured. So if you're going to end that story, does it really make sense for the final image to be him giving up? This is why I think the finish should have been Cena blacking out instead. Same results, same winner, same Gunther dominance. Cena still loses, Gunther still retires him, but Cena doesn't quit. He refuses to tap. He refuses to say the words. He keeps fighting until his body simply can't respond anymore. He passes out. The referee calls it match over, Gunther wins. Cena stays true to everything he stood for. Would that have not felt more authentic? And here's the thing, that finish wouldn't have hurt Gunther at all. In fact, it would have helped him. Gunther still looks like a monster. He still beats John Cena so badly that Cena can't continue. The crowd would still boo Gunther out of the building. The difference is what happens after. WWE clearly knew this match was going to end with a celebration. They knew the locker room would come out. They knew this would be a historic moment replayed for decades. And yet, the footage we're stuck with forever now includes the crowd chanting profanities at Triple H. Think about that. This is John Cena's farewell, and the moment is forever tainted by an angry crowd hijacking the atmosphere. Do I think the crowd handled it perfectly? No. But I do think WWE should have seen this coming. Absolutely. You don't put John Cena in an I quit situation in his retirement match and expect a calm reaction if the crowd hates the finish. That's not how wrestling fans work, especially when emotions are that high. Now imagine this alternate scenario. Cena's laid out in the middle of the ring, the referee has called the match, Gunther leaves to nuclear heat. The crowd is booing him relentlessly, but then slowly, Cena starts to stir. He's still out of it, but he's moving. And then he does that old school John Cena thing, asking the crowd for energy. The fans start cheering, they feel involved, they feel like they're part of the moment. Cena feeds off of that energy one last time and gets his feet. That visual alone would symbolize his entire career. John Cena was powered by the crowd, whether they loved him or hated him, their reactions are what kept him going. Instead of anger lingering over the farewell, you shift the emotion. You let the crowd celebrate Cena. You let them say goodbye properly, and that's what matters. Because retirement matches aren't just about the result, they're about the memory. Another issue here is the kind of heat Gunther got. This wasn't traditional heel heat. This wasn't fans wanting to see Gunther get punched in the face. This was frustration directed at the booking, and that's dangerous. Thanks to the behind the scenes content and things like WWE Unreal, fans are more aware than ever of how planned, these matches are, especially a match as important as John Cena's retirement. So when fans booed, when they chanted at Triple H, that wasn't because Gunther did something wrong, it was because fans felt the decision itself was wrong. That kind of heat doesn't help anyone. It doesn't elevate Gunther, it doesn't enhance the story, it just creates resentment toward the creative decision. And that's the last thing you want coming out of a retirement match for one of the biggest stars of all time. So I want to know what you think. Was WWE trying too hard to be poetic instead of authentic? Should Cena's career have ended with him blacking out instead of quitting? Did the crowd reaction surprise you, or did you see it coming the moment the stipulation was announced? And do you think Gunther benefited from this, or was he caught in the middle of a bad situation? At the end of the day, this isn't about disrespecting Gunther, and it's definitely not about disrespecting John Cena. It's about recognizing that moments like this only happen once. You don't get a redo on a retirement match. You don't get a second chance at a final image. WWE chose an ending that made sense in theory, but clashed with everything John Cena represented in reality. And when you're dealing with a legend of that magnitude, reality should always come first. Thank you for listening. I appreciate it.